Universal Lord. I can stack entries infinitely. Chapter 16. Su Yi looked at Tang Lily's answer. No wonder Lin Fei was so broken and so sarcastic. He didn't even pretend. It turned out that he knew he couldn't pass it, so he gave up. Tang Lily. At all members, everyone be careful. Lin Fei can't pass the novice trial period now. Be careful that he will find you to self-destruct. If you have nothing to do, it's best not to return to the main world. Lin Fei. Tang Lily, you fool, just wait. Tang Lily. Lin Fei, you stinky idiot, do you think I'm afraid of you? You're a waste. Others don't know, but I don't know. Your family has given up on you, dead waste, go to the factory. Su Yi looked at the quarrels in the chat group. Fortunately, he came down. If Lin Fei, this beast, pulled himself to self-destruct, it would be troublesome. There are many people like Lin Fei every year. Because they can't pass it, they will pull others to self-destruct. It is commonly known as revenge on society. Fortunately, I came out to check the group today, otherwise I really don't know. Su Yi thought while looking at the chat group. We still need to be prepared for prevention. Su Yi's eyes were cautious. If the Lord wants to summon soldiers to the main world, he needs to reach the gold rank. And there is a limit on the number of summons. If you want to fully summon your own soldiers, you need to reach the diamond rank. Of course, as the Lord's rank increases, his own strength is also increasing, but the Lord's own strength is never the key. A Lord without the protection of soldiers is very vulnerable. Stay stable, wait until the bronze rank, ordinary weapons should not pose any threat to me. Su Yi looked at the chat group and couldn't help thinking that there are many people who take revenge on society like this. There are many people like Lin Fei in this world. Because the novice lord failed the trial, the second generation with twisted hearts is not one or two. Lin Fei is not the first, nor the last. There was a big news. A second generation concealed the news because of the failure of the trial, held a class reunion, and directly poisoned the entire class. Although he died, others followed this crazy second generation. You have to be on guard. Don't go to any gatherings before you have the ability to protect yourself. Su Yi couldn't help but think. It's not so easy to kill a lord, even if it's an intern lord. The lord can return to the territory in a moment. Endless nothingness, so many territories, without special means, you can't find your territory at all. So the lord is also very safe, but this is relative. This is also the news that poison will be used to kill, because poison is colorless and tasteless, and it is useless if ordinary killers attack. The Lord can return to the territory instantly when encountering a crisis, so basically as long as it is not killed in one blow and the Lord cannot react, the Lord will not die. Poison is the best way to deal with the Lord. Of course, it is not an ordinary poison, but the poison of some soldiers with poison attributes. Ordinary lords can't bear it at all. This kind of thing is not too easy for those second generations. Forget about food. Don't eat in the main world recently. Su Yi became alert instantly. Lin Fei is definitely not the only one with a twisted mind. There are also other people who failed the trial. Who can guarantee that some people will want to drag some novice lords to be buried with them and make a big news? After turning off the phone, Su Yi took care of his physiology and returned directly to the territory. His life was more important. Stay safe first. Don't touch anything dangerous now. This is the most correct way. Who knows what Lin Fei will do in despair? Lord. A fragrant breeze came, and Lilith hugged Su Yi directly. Angie and Artemis also appeared in front of Su Yi. Su Yi enjoyed the softness behind his head and rolled his eyes at Lilith. Nothing big happened in the territory after I left, did it? Su Yi looked at Lilith and asked. Yes. Lilith said softly, hugging Su Yi, wishing she could rub Su Yi into her body. What happened? Su Yi looked at Lilith and asked curiously. There is a guy who calls himself a mysterious merchant. That guy is still in the territory. We don't think he is a threat, so we don't care. Lilith said softly. Su Yi's pupils shrank. Mysterious merchant. Where is he now? Su Yi said with a hint of excitement. Lord, I'll take you there. Lilith thought about Su Yi and said. Lilith took Su Yi directly to a figure covered in a black robe. Hello, respected Lord, I came to your territory under the influence of the Great Will. This may be our fate. The mysterious merchant thought about Su Yi and said. Suyi looked at the mysterious merchant with a hint of strangeness in his eyes. The mysterious merchant is not a secret in the Lord world, but most people just hear about it. According to legend, as long as you have enough gold coins, you can buy everything you want from the mysterious merchant. Let me see what goods I can afford first. Suyi thought of the mysterious merchant and said. Of course, customers are gods, not to mention the respected lord who is favored by the great will. The mysterious merchant opened his shop directly. What caught my eye was a piece of basic resource cards, all of which were 100 gold coins, but it was completely unnecessary for Suyi. Suyi still had a lot of basic resource cards in his hand. Suyi looked at the mysterious merchant. Do you accept basic resource cards? Mysterious merchant. Are you selling things or am I selling things? I will, but only at half price. The mysterious merchant was silent for a moment and then said. Suyi curled his lips and gave up the idea. For Suyi, who was a character who would lose money if he didn't pick up money when he went out, half price was impossible, and it would never be possible in this life. Is there a barracks? Suyi looked at the mysterious merchant with a hint of expectation. The mysterious businessman waved his hand, and the resource card in front of Suyi disappeared, replaced by a barracks, but it didn't look like there were many. Holy Land Arms. Red Dragon. Holy Land Arms. Black Dragon. Legendary Arms. Behemoth. Suyi's eyes were red, but he just looked at the price and remained silent. Holy Land Arms 1000 W gold coins, why don't you go grab it? Suyi looked at the mysterious merchant, then at Lilith and Artemis, whose red eyes made the mysterious merchant feel a little weak. He didn't know why he always had a bad premonition. It was as if he was being stared at by some great terror, but looking at Suyi's weak strength, it should be an illusion. Suyi continued to look at the barracks. The mysterious merchant didn't have many barracks. Suyi looked carefully. First level barracks. Saints Monastery, price 1000 gold coins. Saints Monastery. Suyi's eyes lit up. Saints Monastery, first level barracks, can recruit first level female monks, but they have no combat ability, but they belong to the main vein of the Order Camp, the Holy Light series of soldiers. Saints Monastery can be advanced. If you want to advance, the conditions required are very harsh, and it is basically not worth the loss. But Suyi doesn't care about this thing. What advanced conditions are not a problem for Suyi at all. I want to buy Saints Monastery. Suyi said, thinking about the mysterious merchant. Okay, Lord. The mysterious merchant waved his hand, and a miniature monastery barracks appeared in his hand. Suyi traded directly for 1000 gold coins. Trading with the mysterious merchant is allowed, and it is not considered cheating. Ding! You get the first level barracks, Saints Monastery. Well, can I buy on credit? Suyi looked at the mysterious merchant and asked with a licking face. Mysterious merchant. Is this something a person can say? Sorry, I don't support buying on credit. The mysterious merchant said with a fluctuating tone. Suyi smacked his lips, with a look of pity on his face. Really? Usury is also okay, 9 out of 13 returns, interest compounding, I can accept it. Suyi looked at the mysterious merchant. The mysterious merchant looked at Suyi, and then disappeared in front of Suyi without saying a word. What a pity. Suyi looked at the mysterious merchant who left, and then there was a hint of heat in his eyes. Mysterious merchant. Level. Diamond. Race. Faction. Talent. Skills. Except for one level, Suyi could not see the others, but this did not prevent some immature thoughts in Suyi's mind. Next time, I must not let him go like this. Suyi licked his lips and thought. Lord, did you really want to borrow money just now? Lilith asked Suyi with some curiosity. Yes, what's wrong? Suyi admitted directly. Then how are you going to pay back the money? Lilith looked at Suyi curiously. Pay back? What money? I borrowed it with my own ability, why should I pay it back? Suyi looked at Lilith righteously. Lilith. It's a pity that this guy didn't fall for it. Next time, if this guy comes back next time, I hope you have reached the diamond level. Suyi said faintly. Artemis looked at Suyi with a hint of doubt in her eyes. This guy has a lot of treasures. They are all my things. It's a pity that he took them away. We must take them back next time. Suyi said in a deep voice. Lilith. Artemis. Angie. It's only 1000 gold coins, not a loss. Suyi looked at the saint's monastery in his hand. Although the saint's monastery is a first-level troop, it can be advanced because of its special nature. As a holy light attribute or sacred attribute, it is the main vein troop of the order camp. The potential is naturally extraordinary, but the only pity is that it requires a lot of resources to advance, and it is difficult to cultivate. It also depends on the Lord's talent. This is why the saint's monastery is so cheap. If it is only advanced by resources, it is not a difficult thing for those high-level lords. The difficulty is that the Lord's talent must have the top talent of holy light attribute or sacred attribute. This is the key. But Suyi doesn't need it. Ding! Detected first level barracks. Saint Convent, evolution begins. Ding! You get the God level barracks, Order Temple. Suyi looked at the temple model in his hand. Compared with the Star God Temple, it was also golden. But the Order Temple is much more sacred, full of the sacred breath of light. Countless angel phantoms appeared above the temple, and a magnificent golden cross hung on the top of the temple. Order Temple. Level 1. Rank. God level. Arms. Angels. Recruitment. 10 out of 10 daily. Gold. 1 gold 1 time 10 W 1 time. Upgrade. 1000 W gold, Holy Light Origin X1, Divine Power Crystal X1. PS. Absolute Order, Absolute Justice, Absolute Holiness, the Miracle Temple was born for special reasons, and the Miracle Barracks that only give birth to female angels for special reasons. Suyi took a deep breath and summoned the 3D plane map. Then he moved the Star God Temple to the back of the Lord's Heart and placed the Order Temple to the right of the Lord's Heart. It was symmetrical with the Church of Original Sin on the left and right. One light, one dark, perfect. The breath full of holy light instantly alerted Lilith. Compared with Artemis recruited by the Star God Temple, although she was also in the Order camp. However, Lilith was more dissatisfied with Artemis because of Suyi. However, the appearance of the Order Temple could be regarded as Lilith's mortal enemy, from the root. Lilith was chaos, but she was chaos evil. In essence, she was not compatible with the Order camp. The general Order camp troops were okay, but the existence of the Order Temple belonged to the Absolute Order, the natural enemy, and the mortal enemy. Suyi looked at his gold coins, and there were still 460. The basic recruitment in the past few days could still be maintained. Suyi went straight to the Order Temple. What a disgusting atmosphere, Lilith said with a hint of dissatisfaction. Suyi looked at Lilith and had a headache, but fortunately, Lilith was 100% loyal to him. If it were other Chaos Evil soldiers, they would probably have been on the verge of rebellion. We are all family members. Suyi thought of Lilith and said. I know, Lord. Lilith smiled and took Suyi's arm, and entered the Golden Order Temple together. In the Order Temple, the power of the Holy Light surged. Lilith had no other feelings except a little displeasure. For other chaotic evil creatures, this breath of holy light had enough suppressive power. But for Lilith, it was just disgust. To exaggerate a little, Lilith herself was a collection of original sins, and this breath of holy light just made Lilith feel disgusted instinctively. This was due to the hostile relationship between the power attributes, and had nothing to do with other things. Angie was careless and didn't feel anything wrong at all. Artemis looked at the six-winged angel statue in the Order Temple with some curiosity, holding a holy sword, and red flames burning on the white wings. Artemis, who was also in the Order camp, had no resistance in her heart. Ding! Do you want to consume gold coins x10 and recruit 10 times? Recruit. Suyi looked at the seraph statue in front of him, as the highest existence of the angel army. The endless and holy aura filled the entire palace. Lilith subconsciously wanted to use her own power of original sin, but when she looked at Suyi, she gave up and looked at the holy aura with disdain in her eyes. The holy aura of light descended. A seraphim with 6 white wings on its back and burning red flames descended, holding a holy sword, wearing silver-white female armor, and with long, soft golden hair naturally scattered behind his head and waist. The exquisite and flawless face was closing its eyes, and the next moment, a pair of eyes that seemed to see through the soul opened. Seraphim, Raphael, see my Lord, may the glory of the Lord spread to all worlds, and the eternal light dispel all sins. Raphael half knelt in front of Suyi, his voice clear and bright, with absolute loyalty and will. Get up first. Suyi thought of Raphael and said. Raphael stood up from the ground and stood guard beside Suyi like a loyal knight. Suyi looked at Raphael and then at the other 9 angels. Raphael is a 6-winged angel and the highest level angel, while the other angels only have 2 wings. Suyi looked at Raphael's attributes. Name: Raphael. Source power: 0/100. Level: Black Iron 1 star. Rank: God level. Faction: Order. Arms: Hero, Seraphim. Raphael. Talent: Holy Power. Skill: Holy Judgment. Companion weapon: Holy Sword. Potential: Lord God right pointing arrow origin, entry bonus. P.S. The legendary Seraphim, due to special reasons, has a huge potential improvement. At the same time, it has absolute loyalty and masters the purest holy power, which can purify all evil. Origin. Suyi looked at Raphael and couldn't help but think of Lilith. He originally thought that Raphael was at the same level as Lilith, but now it seems that Lilith is indeed a unique existence. Or maybe Lilith was born because of her existence. Seraphim is already the top troop of the Order camp. Even Raphael cannot reach Lilith's potential. It can only be said that Lilith's potential is greater than Suyi imagined. Suyi looked at the other 9 2-winged angels. They were all ordinary angels. Without the bonus of the entry, their potential was at most the middle-level true god. Now with the bonus of the entry, they have become the potential of the upper-level true god. However, this is just a data and cannot really represent anything. Some troop units will achieve self-breakthrough after experiencing many battles. This is true for any troop. It is not unheard of for ordinary troop units to evolve into heroic troop units. Moreover, angels themselves are escalable troop types. It is not impossible to evolve from 2 wings to 4 wings and then to 6 wings, especially under Suyi's subordinates. These ordinary angels, of course, also have their own companion weapons, which are also sacred swords, but they cannot compare with Raphael. Their talents are not bad either, the power of light. Compared with the divine power, it is certainly inferior, but it is already very good. Raphael, the angel army will be handed over to you in the future. Suyi thought of Raphael and said. Always follow the will of the Lord. Raphael said seriously. Raphael, don't be so serious. I am a very easy-going person. This is Lilith, this is Artemis, and this is Angie. Suyi thought of Raphael and introduced. Raphael looked at Lilith and Angie with a hint of vigilance in his eyes and nodded to Artemis. As a member of the Order camp and a believer in absolute order, Raphael only looked at Lilith and Angie with vigilance. He didn't draw his sword and cut them, which was all ready for Suyi's sake. After all, in front of Raphael, the chaotic and evil nature of Lilith and Angie was clear at a glance. But Lilith was interested. What do you mean? Lilith looked at Raphael with a smile on her face. The sinners are unforgivable. The wings behind Raphael burned with red sacred flames. Then let's try. Your serious look is really annoying. Lilith looked at Raphael, and the nun's clothes disappeared. Instead, she appeared in front of Raphael in the posture of a succubus. The black power of original sin fluctuated around Lilith, and the huge black war sickle flashed with dim light. Only 3 points on her body were covered, and her face became more and more enchanting. Suyi. Pa. 2 sounds rang out. Artemis looked at Lilith and Raphael with a smile on her face. Raphael's face was slightly flushed, and he looked at Suyi with some embarrassment in his eyes. Lilith covered her buttocks with a trace of grievance on her face, looking at Suyi pitifully. We are all family, no one is allowed to do these things, don't say anything that is not conducive to unity, whoever says it, I will deal with him first. Suyi said with a dark face, and they were about to fight in front of him. If he was not there, would they really have to start a fight? This is too much. It must be dealt with. This is no longer an ordinary problem. A heavy blow must be taken. You are all my people. Internal affairs can be solved in other ways, but internal fighting is absolutely not allowed. Suyi looked at Raphael and Lilith and said. That is Suyi. If it were any other lord, his mentality might have collapsed at this time. Suyi could suppress it without any scruples because Lilith and Raphael were loyal to Suyi and would not drop. However, if any other lord dared to suppress it so forcefully, they would die on the spot in minutes. Suyi looked at the population unit of his territory, which had reached 60 units. 30 units of original sin succubus, 20 units of star gods, and 10 units of angels. If I had known earlier, I would not have used the troop refresh card first, but who knew that I could meet a mysterious lord during the novice period? Suyi couldn't help but think. It would be great if another troop refresh card was opened tomorrow. Suyi's eyes were filled with a hint of expectation. If another troop refresh card was opened, he could upgrade the level of his territory in advance. Time passed slowly. Under the night. In the Order Temple, Raphael was leading other angels in devout prayer. However, the voice coming from the side made Raphael grit his teeth. How shameless. Raphael looked at the Church of Original Sin next door with some contempt. A new day has arrived. Suyi climbed up from a pile of fragrant meat and beautiful legs with a refreshed spirit and touched his waist. It's not enough. Suyi murmured, put on his clothes with difficulty, and then walked out of the Church of Original Sin. The angel guards have been patrolling in the territory, and the moon star god is hanging high in the sky, shining with starlight. The original sin succubus is stationed on the wall of the territory, guarding the endless void darkness. Everything is so perfect. A question appeared in Suyi's mind. Who else was there last night besides Lilith, Angie, and Artemis? Suyi looked at the original sin succubus stationed, and couldn't tell them apart. Forget it, don't think about it, anyway, they are all his. A new day has arrived, which means that new soldiers can be recruited. Suyi looked at his few remaining gold coins. There are still 450 gold coins left. Then he started recruiting from the original sin succubus, Lilith, Artemis, and Raphael followed Suyi. But he was a little unlucky, all of them were ordinary soldiers, and no hero units were recruited. So far, the population units under Suyi are original sin succubus, 40, star gods, 30, angels, 20. Among them, the hero units are 7 sin succubus Lilith, moon of destruction Artemis, wrathful succubus Angie, seraph Raphael. The rest are ordinary soldiers, so I won't count them carefully. I will count and subdivide them when I have complete legion attributes in the future. At this time, the system prompt sounded. Ding! Today is the third day of the Novice Lord, the combat power ranking list is open, and the territory level ranking list is open. Hearing the prompt sound, Suyi was silent for a while. The combat power list and territory level list opened on the third day of the novice period, and other lists will be opened one after another later. These lists are closed every day. If you stay on the list for 24 hours, you can get rewards. There are only 10 people on each list, which can help novice lords grow faster. The benefits and help brought by the Supreme Will are also the reason why the Supreme Will close the trading module and the live broadcast module. If these two modules are not closed, ordinary lords will not even think about being on the list, let alone these benefits, and they will basically be monopolized by the second generation. Ding! You are ranked first in the combat power ranking. Do you use your real name? No. Suyi felt like denying it. There were many strange arms in this world. Some arms that Suyi knew had the ability to calculate. Basically, knowing your name could calculate your identity and even find your territory. In the face of no absolute strength, Suyi did not intend to completely expose himself. This was not pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger, but it was really dangerous. There were real gods in the world. Suyi was not willing to bet on the goodness of others, but was more willing to bet on the evil of others. Ding! Please choose a nickname as your name in the Lord world. Chaos. Suyi thought for a while and then said. Ding! Are you sure? Chaos, as the name of your Lord world, once confirmed, cannot be changed. Yes. Suyi confirmed it directly. Ding! Congratulations on being the first on the Lord's combat power list. If you continue to be on the list for 24 hours, you will receive a mysterious gift package. Suyi opened the Lord's combat power list. A list appeared in front of Suyi. First place. Chaos, combat power, 210,000. Second place. Lord of the Abyss, combat power, 10,000. Third place. Shepherd, combat power, 9,000. The second place is only 10,000. Suyi looked at the combat power list, but this was just the beginning of the third day of the Novice Lord, and a comprehensive combat power of 10,000 was really not weak. However, the chat channel exploded. Lord of the Abyss, am I seeing things? Is this first place a person? Black Turtle Head. I worship the second place in the combat power list. Big Boss, please guide me. Shepherd. No, are all the rookies of this session so outrageous? The comprehensive territory combat power of 210,000 on the third day, although it is just data and does not mean anything, but isn't this too outrageous? Milky White Snow Child. The big bosses are all blown up. Who is the first person, whose generals are so fierce? Black Turtle Head. You seem to have overlooked a problem. That is, the void invasion today will come again. If it comes, once the level is upgraded, this place will probably break through to the sky. Lord of the Abyss. Outrageous, it's time to grow. Shepherd. +1. On Suyi's side, Suyi opened the territory ranking list. First place. Land of Justice, level 3, area 3,000 meters in radius. Second place. Wandering Island, level 3, area 2,000 meters in radius. How did these guys upgrade? Suyi looked at the territory ranking list and a question mark popped up in his mind. The upgrade of the territory requires not only resources, but also population units. The population unit requirement for the third level territory is 500 population units. Is it because of talent? Suyi couldn't help but think that this was the only explanation that made sense. Of course, it could also be the Emperor of Europe. But I can look forward to tomorrow's combat power settlement rewards. The first place reward should not be bad. Suyi couldn't help but think. Ding! The void invasion is about to begin. Please choose the difficulty. S, A, B, C, D. Choose S. Suyi didn't hesitate at all. There was no reason not to choose S level. His own troops need to be upgraded, and more gold coins and resources are needed. Although the difficulty of the void invasion on the third day will be upgraded again, it is nothing for Suyi. If the 3 god level troops under his command can't pass, then no one can play this. Whether it is the growth of the territory or the resources and gold coins he needs, S-level difficulty is the best choice. Ding! S-level difficulty is determined, please be prepared, Lord. Lilith, Raphael, Artemis, Angie, the void invasion is coming, you are ready, one person guards one direction. Suyi said thinking of Lilith, Raphael, Artemis, and Angie. Yes, Lord. Territory invasion is no joke. Even if they are not afraid at all, they are afraid of the worst. If there is any mistake, it will be a lot of fun. They also know the limits. Outside the territory, the boundless void is wriggling like water waves, and terrifying creatures come out of it. Suyi looked at the monsters that invaded today with a trace of solemnity in his eyes. Void Zerg. Level. Black Iron 3 stars, Black Iron 6 stars. Race. Void. Skills. None. P.S. One of the natural disasters in the void, the culprit of the collapse of countless worlds. Unfortunately, you have encountered it. Fortunately, it is only a small group of void Zerg. If you can survive it, the harvest will be huge for you. Zhao. Suyi looked at the sky. Okay, this is how to play it, right? The Zerg has come out. One of the natural disasters of this world is the Zerg, and the void Zerg is just one of the branches of the Zerg natural disaster. Of course, it doesn't mean that the void Zerg is weak. However, compared with the entire Zerg, the void Zerg is only one of the branches. Although it is a branch, it is also a natural disaster. Suyi directly opened the god's perspective and sat in the order temple. One after another, the terrifying insects appeared from the void and then launched an attack. Like a torrent, they rushed directly towards Lilith and others, and the hissing sound continued. One by one, the original Sin succubus directly tore off their nun disguises and turned into a succubus. Delicate little horns, dark demon wings appearing behind, slender tails, tall figures, only 3 points of the body are wrapped. As the saying goes, the less clothes, the higher the defense. At least for the original Sin succubus, each original Sin succubus has 6 black demon wings, holding various weapons, sharp blades, long swords, long whips, staffs, heavy hammers, axes, daggers. The same moon star gods showed a female posture, holding a spear, with bright moonlight blooming on their bodies, and there was no fluctuation on their cold faces. They were wearing white armor and began to hunt. A huge bright moon appeared in the sky, exuding the mighty power of the moon. Artemis guided the power of the moon of destruction, continuously bursting out terrifying shocks, bombarding the Zerg. Raphael's sighed. As Suyi's latest recruits, although they are all 1-star Black Iron, in terms of their own combat power, these angels are not weak. The formation formed by 20 angels directly blocked the Zerg's attack. The vast power of light continued to fluctuate. The divine power bloomed on Raphael's body, the scorching flame of the Seraph surged, and the 6 white wings turned into 6 red wings of the Seraph, and the divine and majestic power descended. One after another, the sword energy of judgment fell, constantly harvesting the lives of the Zerg. Lilith, Raphael, Artemis, and Angie each guarded a direction. The bloodiest direction was undoubtedly the furious succubus army led by Angie, holding a big axe, fighting bloody in the Zerg swarm, and the green blood of the Zerg fell on the ground. The broken limbs were all over the ground, which was very bloody and terrifying, but Angie had a wanton and arrogant smile on his face, and the dark energy surged on Angie's body. Rage attack. Angie was like a black blade that directly tore a bloody crack in the entire Zerg swarm. Ding. Source power +1. Ding. Source power +3. Ding. Source power +2. The system's prompt sounded continuously, but Suyi didn't care. Source power can be improved quickly in the early stage, but it is very difficult in the later stage. It is often necessary to fight a large battle to improve 1 star. Ding. Your source power has reached 800. Do you want to upgrade? Upgrade. Suyi directly chose to upgrade and reached Black Iron 4 stars. Suyi took a look at the source power required for the next level upgrade. It requires 1000 source power, and it should be able to upgrade in this void invasion. As time passed, 2 hours passed. The last worm fell under Lilith's scythe. Suyi looked at his territory. The entire territory was filled with Zerg corpses. Suyi's level also reached Black Iron 5 stars, and the next level requires 1200 source power. There are 2 more opportunities to extract entries, but let's put it aside for now. Suyi took a deep breath. Looking at Lilith's level has reached Black Iron 6 stars, Artemis has reached Black Iron 5 stars, and the rest of the soldiers, including Angie and Raphael, have reached Black Iron 4 stars. Ding! Congratulations on passing the test. It took 2 hours. Battle damage 0. Rating S. You get an S-rated treasure chest. Another treasure chest is in hand, comfortable. Suyi looked at the S-rated treasure chest in his backpack. What this thing can open is determined by the level of the Lord. The higher the level of the Lord, the better the things you get. Of course, don't think about catching bugs. Wait until the level is higher in the future to open it. This is not impossible. It is determined by the level when you get the treasure chest. Swallow. Suyi directly used his power. The next moment Suyi's territory soared at a speed visible to the naked eye, and continued to expand. Ding! You used the Lord power. Swallow. Your territory increased 300 meters in radius. Ding! The attribute of your territory is triggered, and a primary spiritual stone vein is born. Primary Spirit Stone Mine. Suyi opened his territory attribute panel with some doubts and found the information of the Spirit Stone Mine. Spirit Stone Mine. Level. Primary. Production. 10 per day, 20 per day over limit. PS. Primary Spirit Stone Mine. 10 can be mined per day, 20 per day over limit. Note. Over limit mining will lead to the exhaustion of Spirit Stone Mine. Please continue to exhaust the pond to catch fish. Suyi. What do you mean by sustainable exhaustion? Am I that kind of person? 10 spirit stones per day is also a pleasant surprise. Suyi couldn't help thinking that as for over-limit mining, there is no need for that. When the spirit stone mine is exhausted, I will have no place to cry. Currently, 10 per day is enough. After closing the attribute panel, Suyi began to tap today's harvest. Gold coins X4000, white light groups X30, blue light groups X4. Open. Suyi looked at the 30 white light groups and chose to open them directly. Basic wood card +10, basic stone card +10, basic meat card +6, basic iron ore card +4. Not bad. Suyi looked at the basic resource cards that were opened, all of them were okay. The remaining 4 cyan light balls are higher level light balls than white light balls, and the things opened are naturally better, but it's a pity that there are only 4. Suyi opened them one by one. Advanced Wood Resource Card. After opening, you will get Advanced Wood X 1000. Advanced Stone Resource Card. After opening, you will get Advanced Stone X 1000. Mithril Resource Card. After opening, you will get Mithril X 100. Gold Resource Card. After opening, you will get Gold X 100. Profit. Suyi took a deep breath and looked at the 4 resource cards in his hand. Advanced wood and advanced stone are resources needed to build high-level buildings, and mithril and gold are also resources needed to practice some strange buildings. They are all strategic materials, and the Lord will never have too much. Only when you are a novice can you get it so easily. Suyi said with some emotion. Whether it is resources such as mithril or gold, they are basically hard currencies in the market. There is no resource card with less than 10,000 gold coins. The next part is the highlight. Suyi took out the S-level evaluation treasure chest with a hint of expectation in his eyes. Don't panic, go wash your face first. As soon as he went to the well, Suyi saw a group of naked succubi washing their bodies with a smile on their faces, led by Angie. The whiteness in front of him almost blinded Suyi's eyes. Lord, do you want to join us? A braver succubus thought of Suyi and invited him. You wash this first, I'll let you go this time. Suyi said a harsh word to this group of goblins and was about to go back, but suddenly thought of something. 3 cards appeared in Suyi's hand. Basic Water Source Card. After use, you will get 20 tons of pure water. Angie, this is for you. If there is not enough water, just use 1 card directly. Suyi thought of Angie and said that most of the people here are the angry succubi led by Angie. She is also the only succubus who likes close combat. She was splashed with a lot of insect blood, so she cleaned her body here. Angie grinned. She had nothing on her body. Her healthy bronze body was a bit tempting. She walked over carelessly and walked in front of Suyi. With a handsome short hair and a bold smile on his face, he directly held Suyi's head. Lord, are you really not going together? It will be very happy. Suyi sniffed the fragrance and felt the softness. I'll let you go this time, next time for sure. Suyi broke free from Angie's arm and turned back. Angie smiled at Suyi who was leaving. Take it easy, skills also need cooling time, if you keep going like this, the little steel cannon will become a fine needle. Suyi murmured, and just as he was about to go back, he saw the death choice in front of him. Artemis standing at the door of the Star God Temple, Lilith standing at the door of the original Sin Church, and Raphael standing at the door of the Order Temple. Forget it, the grass is not bad. Suyi looked at the 3 people and felt that it was not good to go anywhere, so it was better not to go anywhere. Suyi sat down on the grass. Raphael and Lilith looked at each other, full of gunpowder. Artemis came to Suyi with a gentle smile on her face. Suyi glanced at Artemis, and then looked at Raphael and Lilith who were full of gunpowder. This one was also black. Suyi directly chose to open the S-level evaluation treasure box. Ding! Congratulations on getting Spirit Stones X10. Ding! Congratulations on getting a Soldier Refresh Recruitment Card X1. Ding! Congratulations on getting a Soldier Refresh Recruitment Card X1. 2 Soldier Refresh Recruitment Cards. Suyi's eyes lit up. Now what he lacked was the soldier units. Just 2, so there's nothing to say about 1 for each person. Suyi couldn't help but think. For others, soldier refresh cards may be a guarantee, but for him, they are the best thing. For other lords, soldier refresh cards are almost the same, but for Suyi, it's not the same. Each card represents 10 units of God-level soldier units. This means saving 1 million gold coins. Maybe this is not the best item obtained in the S-level evaluation, but it is the most suitable item for Suyi. Let's go, recruit first. Suyi looked at Artemis and said. Artemis smiled and nodded, followed Suyi without fighting or competing, and was very gentle and obedient. Lilith and Raphael followed Suyi and Artemis to the Star God Temple without saying a word. The 2 seemed to be fighting, not giving an inch. Artemis smiled very sensibly, gave up her position, and let Lilith and Raphael follow Suyi on the left and right. Artemis, come here. Suyi thought of Artemis and said, looking at Lilith and Raphael who were fighting against each other. Lilith and Raphael looked at each other, as if they were both saying, it's all your fault. Artemis obediently came to Suyi's side. Suyi took Artemis directly into the star god temple. Ding! Do you want to use the unit refresh card? Use. Suyi said in a deep voice, looking at the boundless starry sky. Ding! Daily recruitment has been refreshed, and the Lord can recruit 10 times again. Recruit. Suyi looked at the boundless starry sky with a hint of expectation in his eyes. The golden light bloomed. Suyi's eyes were filled with a trace of astonishment. Artemis' eyes were also filled with a trace of astonishment. Is this shipped? The dazzling golden light bloomed, and a golden star like the sun hung high. In the golden sun, a pair of golden eyes slowly opened. Like two eternal suns. As the light faded, a figure with long golden hair appeared in front of Suyi. Unlike Raphael's golden hair, every strand of hair in this figure seemed to be shining with the sun's brilliance. A pair of golden wings spread out behind him, with a hint of ignorance in his golden eyes, wearing platinum armor, holding a long sword, and a symbol of the scorching sun on the handle of the long sword. Slender figure, flawless and beautiful face with a 3-no expression. Alamis, see the Lord. Alamis half knelt in front of Suyi, and 9 figures behind him, whose genders could not be seen clearly, half knelt in front of Suyi at the same time as the moon star god. Unlike the bright and cold divine radiance on the moon star god, these 9 figures bloomed with golden and hot divine radiance. Everyone, get up. Suyi looked at Alamis and said. Alamis stood in front of Suyi with an expressionless face. Artemis looked at Alamis. You are finally here, sister. Sister. Suyi looked at Artemis, and then looked at Alamis. Lord, she is my sister, do you want tonight? Artemis whispered in Suyi's ear. Suyi swallowed his saliva. We'll talk about this tonight. Suyi looked at Alamis's attributes. Although Alamis and Artemis names are only one letter different, their personalities and appearances are completely different. Name. Alamis. Source. 0/100. Level. Black Iron 1 star. Rank. God level. Arms. Hero, Eternal Sun. Alamis. Talent. Eternal Sun. Skill. Solar Strike. Companion weapon. Eternal Sword. Potential. Lord God right pointing arrow source. Entry bonus. P.S. The eternally burning sun, the creature born in miracles, is like the eternal sun. When reaching the golden rank and possessing Artemis, the moon of destruction, the eternal tribulation. Twins will be activated. Eternal tribulation. Twins. What is this? Suyi looked at Alamis's note with some curiosity, and then looked at the arm behind Alamis, the sun star god. Like the moon star god is Artemis' subordinate, so the sun star god is Alamis's subordinate. There is not much difference between the attributes and the moon star god. He is gifted with a blazing sun body, and his potential has reached the level of a higher true god. Like the moon star god, he has a companion weapon, the blazing sun sword. Suyi also discovered the characteristics of the star god temple, that is, if you don't recruit a hero unit of the star god arm, you can't recruit the star god arm. For example, when Alamis was not recruited before, you couldn't recruit the sun star god. Artemis, tell Alamis about the characteristics and rules of the territory. Suyi thought of Artemis and said. Okay, Lord. Artemis said with a smile. Then Suyi went to the Order Temple. As soon as he came out, he saw Lilith and Raphael fighting with their eyes. Suyi walked over and slapped each of them on the buttocks. Stop making trouble, Raphael, come with me to the Order Temple. Suyi said with a hint of helplessness. Okay, Lord. Raphael glanced at Lilith, followed Suyi with a hint of pride in his eyes. Lilith glared back, and then followed Suyi and Raphael to the Order Temple. Ding! Do you want to use the Army Recruitment Refresh card? Yes. Suyi used the last Army Recruitment Refresh card. Ding! Refreshed, the Lord can recruit again. Sure enough, the Lord still favors us. Raphael looked at Suyi with a hint of heat and said. Humph, I used it yesterday. Lilith directly choked Raphael. Raphael. Suyi ignored the two people's verbal battles. Ding! Do you want to consume gold coins x10 to recruit? Recruit. Suyi looked at the 6-winged seraph statue. White holy light rose. Looking at this scene, Suyi knew that it was impossible to summon a hero unit. Sure enough, 10 winged angels appeared in front of Suyi. Raphael and the others will be handed over to you. Suyi thought of Raphael and said. Yes, my lord. Raphael said seriously. Then Suyi walked out of the Order Temple. He opened his territory panel and looked at the upgrade conditions of the territory. The upgrade conditions of the territory are 1,000 wood, 1,000 stone, and 100 population units. Suyi has no shortage of wood and stone. As for population, Suyi now has 40 original sin succubi, 40 star gods, and 30 angels. The total population units have exceeded 110, which has met the upgrade conditions. Ding! The population units of the territory are detected. 100, which meets the requirements for territory upgrade. Do you want to consume 1,000 wood and 1,000 stone to upgrade the territory? Upgrade. Suyi directly took out 2 basic resource cards, one for wood and one for stone. The white light enveloped Suyi's territory, and Suyi's territory was constantly expanding. Lilith, Angie, Raphael, Artemis, and Alamis appeared beside Suyi. Lord, what is this? Artemis looked at Suyi with some curiosity. Our territory has been upgraded. Suyi said with a smile. As the territory continued to expand, Suyi's eyes were filled with anticipation. When the white light faded, Suyi looked at the changes in his territory. First, the 3 god-level barracks became much larger, from 2-story buildings to the size of small villas. In addition, Suyi's heart of territory finally had the protection of a room. Although it was a small wooden house, the egg finally didn't have to be exposed outside. This was Suyi's lord's mansion. This was also the reason why the wooden house was not built to protect the heart of the territory before. There was no need. As the territory was upgraded, the lord's mansion would automatically appear on the territory. As the territory was upgraded, the lord's mansion would also be upgraded. Suyi opened the cabin. The cabin had 2 floors. The first floor was the living room, bedroom, and bathroom. Although it was simple, it had everything. The second floor was where the Lord's heart existed. Not bad, I finally have a place to sleep. Suyi looked at the wooden bed. Although it was simple, it was a bed after all. Before, it was in the barracks hall. In the first level of the territory, the heart of the territory is alone outside, just like a naked person, with the egg exposed. In the second level of the territory, there is a lord's mansion, and the heart of the territory will be protected. Of course, the wooden house is not very easy to protect, at least the egg is covered. Suyi directly opened his territory panel. Name: Chaos. Level: Level 2. Area: 1,500 meters. Barracks: Church of Original Sin God, Star God Temple God, Order Temple God. Buildings: Well, White Wall, White, Upgradable Lord's Mansion. Mineral veins: Spiritual stone mineral veins primary. Units: 110, Succubus, 40, Star God, 40, Angel, 30. Entries: God level evolution, red, alluring beauty, red, cave, paradise, gold. Upgrades: Wood X 5000, Stone X 5000, population units, 500. Has the area reached 1,500 meters? Suyi looked at the area of his territory. The 1,500 meters here refers to the diameter of the territory. Suyi's territory is a circle, and a second-level territory with a diameter of 1,500 meters is rare. This is because of the swallowing evolution of the cave paradise, which made his territory so large. The normal second-level territory is only 500 meters, of course, referring to the normal territory area. However, the territories on the ranking list start at 2 kilometers. Basically, it is because of special reasons, or their talents are related to the territory, or their arms are related to the territory, so the territory is so large. The biggest problem is still the population problem. Suyi thought as he looked at his territory panel. For other lords, the biggest problem is the resource problem, but Suyi is just the opposite. The biggest problem is the population problem, because Suyi's arms are god-level arms, and the daily recruitment limit is 10 units. Unless the barracks are upgraded, but upgrading the barracks is still a long way off for Suyi, it is better to hope to open more arms to refresh the recruitment cards. Other arms units, such as the original Sin Succubus before it evolves, the third-level Succubus has a daily recruitment limit of 100 units, and the conditions for upgrading the third-level barracks are not as harsh as the conditions for upgrading the god-level barracks. Basically, Population units will not be the reason for the difficulty of upgrading the Lord's territory in the early stage. But for Su Yi, everything is reversed, and population units have become the biggest factor in the god level of the territory. It's really the opposite of Tiangong. Su Yi closed his territory panel. Then he opened the 3D floor plan of the territory. All the buildings in the territory appeared in front of Su Yi. Su Yi looked at the wall. The wall was a special building that could be upgraded. Su Yi directly used his Lord power to push the wall outward for several hundred meters, leaving only a buffer zone between the 500-meter territory and the boundless void. The wall stood on the earth. Inside the wall was Su Yi's core territory, and outside the wall was the buffer zone between darkness and the territory. Su Yi looked at the 3D floor plan in front of him. A large territory has big advantages, but there are also small advantages. The big advantage is that a large territory will not appear so crowded. There will be more resources, but there are also bad aspects. Compared with a small territory, a large territory needs more places to defend, and the population of his territory is really stretched. Su Yi looked at the wall. Conditions for upgrading the wall: 10,000x wood, 10,000x stone, 10x spirit stone. Su Yi looked at his backpack: basic wood resource card x19, basic stone resource card x21, spirit stone x19. Some wood and stone were used to build the well and the wall before, but the miscellaneous ones were not counted. A basic resource card is 1000 units of wood or stone. Upgrade. Wall. Ding. Do you want to consume 10,000 wood, 10,000 stone, and 10 spirit stones to upgrade the wall? Yes. Su Yi took a deep breath. Su Yi felt the territory vibrate, a rumbling sound sounded, and white light enveloped the wall. The original wooden wall was covered with white light. Ding. Upgraded successfully. You can check the specific properties yourself. The light dissipated, and the original wooden wall was covered with black light, standing on the ground like steel, and the height of the wall reached about 15 meters. Su Yi checked the properties of the wall. Blackstone wall. Level: Cyan. Upgrade: Iron ore X1000, Bronze X1000, Mithril X100. PS. After the Blackstone wall is strengthened, it can resist the attack of immune black iron creatures, but cannot resist magic damage. Su Yi looked at the properties of the Blackstone wall and took a deep breath. This upgrade is not too bad. It is worthy of consuming so many resources to upgrade the wall. Resisting the attack of immune black iron creatures is invincible at this stage. Now his territory is finally protected. In the final analysis, Su Yi's territory population unit is too small. After the territory becomes larger, there are more places to defend. There are many monsters invading the void every time. As the saying goes, don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of one. If you miss one or two monsters, you will suffer a lot. Although I also believe in Lilith and others, but the same sentence still applies. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of one. It's better to be prepared than not. Moreover, Su Yi didn't feel bad about the consumption of these basic resources. The only thing he felt bad about was the spirit stones. Fortunately, there is now a primary spirit stone vein, and 10 spirit stones can be mined every day. As long as it is not overmined, it can be mined indefinitely, and there is no big problem. Today's spirit stones have not been mined yet. After mining, today's spirit stone consumption will be back. This wave is not a loss. Su Yi couldn't help but think, and then closed the 3D territory plan. Looking at the black stone wall, it's getting better, brother. Then Su Yi opened his attribute panel. He looked at his talent with a hint of expectation in his eyes. Today, he has been promoted twice and can draw new entries. Su Yi is looking forward to what entries he can draw. Extract entries. Su Yi looked at his talent with expectation. Ding. 5 entries have been randomly selected. Born defective gray, glaucoma gray, ancient kidney body gold, destiny twins gold, stupid youth gray. Su Yi looked at the 5 random entries that appeared in front of him. Born defective, destiny twins, and stupid youth have all appeared before, so there is no need to explain them. Glaucoma. Gray entry: after using it, your troops are prone to glaucoma. Su Yi. Ancient kidney body. Gold entry, Lord entry: after using it, the Lord's kidney power is sufficient and never exhausted. Are you serious? Suyi looked at the golden entry. Mana supplement plus ancient kidney body equals mobile spiritual power spring. But Destiny Twins, Suyi also wants it. Suyi is a little entangled. The defects of Destiny Twins have been mentioned. After the novice welfare period, Suyi whether there is a chance to use it is still unclear. This is the key. 100,000 for one recruitment is destined to be a sky-high price. The biggest problem is that after this entry is used, it is very likely that after the novice benefit period is over, Suyi will not have this entry for a long time, completely wasting the opportunity to choose this entry. Moreover, it is an entry that can only be triggered with a probability. Suyi is a little unconfident about his status as a senior non-African. Forget it, let's talk about it later. Bind. Ancient kidney body. Ding. Bind entry. Ancient kidney body, the Lord can check it in the personal attribute panel. Suyi felt his kidneys stand up instantly. Continue, draw entries. Suyi looked at his talent. Ding. 5 entries have been randomly selected. Celestial Dragon Gray, Pika Gray, Monster Killer Blue, Alien Visitor Purple, Call of Cthulhu Gold. Suyi looked at the 5 random entries with curiosity in his eyes, all of which had never appeared before. Celestial Dragon. Gray entry, after using, you and your troops will be hated by the Order Camp, Chaos Camp, and Chaos Camp, Arrogance plus 10000, and despise all groups of troops. Note. Stinky outsiders, I am a noble celestial dragon, kneel down. Ah this. Suyi looked at the attributes of this entry and was directly offended by all of them, and what is this arrogance plus 10000? Pika. Gray entry, after using, you and your troops have a chance to develop a habit of abnormal food. Monster Killer. Blue entry, after using, your troops have a 20% increase in lethality against monster creatures. Alien Visitor. Purple entry, after using, your territory has a chance of creatures from other worlds descending. Note, whether it is good or malicious, everything is unknown. Call of Cthulhu. Gold entry, after using, your troops have a certain chance of hearing unknown whispers and undergoing flesh and blood mutations. Suyi rubbed his brows and looked at the 5 entries in front of him. He took a deep breath and found it difficult to make a decision. The only golden entry that appeared obviously had a negative buff. Others didn't know what Cthulhu was, but Suyi didn't know it either. If he had drawn this talent before recruiting soldiers, Suyi would have been quite happy. It doesn't matter if it mutates, as long as it can become stronger. Anyway, they are absolutely loyal to him. But now, the soldiers under Suyi are all goddess-level beings. If they choose this and become a pool of rotten meat, or mutate into a flesh monster, and grow some flesh tentacles, Suyi will definitely not accept it. Alien visitors look pretty good. There is a chance that they will descend on other worlds, but the note is that it is not known whether they are kind or malicious. This is very interesting. In other words, the creatures that come here do not necessarily come with good intentions, but may also be malicious. It seems that there is no choice. Suyi looked at the entry in front of him. Bind. Monster Killer. Ding. The entry has been bound. Monster Killer. The attributes of this entry can be viewed in the territory attributes. Suyi did not choose Cthulhu's Huhu because he did not want his troops to become unknown and indescribable creatures. It was a completely unprofitable choice for Suyi. Although it is a gold entry, it is just like that. Moreover, if his troops begin to mutate, it will not be long before Suyi goes crazy. He does not have as high a san value as his troops. The reason for not choosing the purple entry, Alien Visitors, is also very simple, to eliminate all unknown risks. There is no reason for Suyi to gamble on this risk now. As long as he develops steadily, Suyi is destined to be invincible. Why take this risk? What if an extremely evil boss comes? What should Suyi do? The potential of Lilith and others is indeed good, but as the saying goes, potential is potential, strength is strength, they are not the same concept. Potential needs to grow up and it takes time to convert into strength. If it does not grow up, at most it will fight at a higher level and push the troops of the same level. Risk and benefit are not proportional, there is no need for this. Of course, there may be benevolent creatures, but it is only possible. Suyi opened his attribute panel. Name. Suyi. Source power. 0.12 Level. Black Iron 5 stars. Talent. Avenue entry. Power. God's perspective, 3D Lord map, decomposition, automatic pickup, devour. Territory. Level 2. Skills. None. Entry. Ancient kidney body, gold, magic supplement, blue. Suyi directly closed the attribute panel and moved his body. Why are you looking at me? Suyi looked at Lilith, Raphael and others around him and asked, touching his face. Didn't he wash his face clean? Lord, you just laughed for a while, and then slapped your face. Are you sick? Alamis said expressionlessly. Suyi. Lilith. Raphael. Artemis. Is my sister so brave? Don't worry about your life. I don't know that the Lord is narrow-minded and loves to hold grudges. In the Star God Temple. After a beating, Alamis deeply realized her mistakes. Suyi walked out of the Star God Temple refreshed. The ancient kidney body is awesome. Suyi breathed a sigh of relief, and Alamis and Artemis came out behind him with blushing faces. This kind of life is life. Suyi couldn't help thinking. Then Suyi thought of one thing, that is, if you are on the Novice Lord list, no matter which list, you can go to the school for certification and report to get resources. Forget it, I won't go now. Suyi couldn't help thinking that the combat power list is too annoying. Just now Suyi looked at his ranking on the combat power list. While ranking first, the original 210,000 combat power soared directly to 500,000 combat power, which can only be said to be outrageous. But it is reasonable. When the combat power list was just opened, the third day of the Void invasion had not yet begun, but now it has ended. The level of Suyi's soldiers has basically been upgraded by 1 level, and Raphael and others have even been upgraded by 3 levels. Add to that the new recruitment refresh card, the newly recruited 20 units of soldiers, and the hero unit like Alamis. It is understandable that the combat power has increased so much. The combat power of the second place is only 20,000 at present. Suyi opened the chat module. Looking at his private chat messages, he thought he was dazzled, 99 plus private chat messages. Suyi opened it and took a look. Most of them wanted to add friends. Of course, there were also a few brain-dead ones, such as the private chat that Suyi opened now. Lord of God, I will give you a chance to follow me. I am the legitimate son of the Tang family in the imperial capital. Suyi directly replied with 2 words, idiot. Then he blocked a dragon. In the boundless void, in a level 1 territory, Tang Mingquan looked at his territory with some annoyance. As a big family in the imperial capital, his family is not a top family. But it is also a second-rate existence, and there are also some high-level lords in the family. But his novice lord career is not smooth. His novice troop is a first-level troop, the Mud Monster. So far, he has only survived 3D level Void invasions, which is the lowest level of Void invasion. As a result, he is not even able to consume enough to recruit daily troops every day, let alone other resources. So now the territory is still at level 1. The good news is that as a first-level troop, the Mud Monster, although not very powerful, has toxins and a special body structure. Ordinary physical attacks have no effect on the Mud Monster. The number of daily recruitments of Mud Monsters is 500. Now he can't even meet his own daily recruitment. This is how the D-level trial works. But Tang Mingquan is also very clear that his novice period is destined to be a mess. It is good to be able to safely survive the 30-day novice period and become a formal lord. Of course, he is not an idiot. He sent such a message to Suyi because he had inquired that none of the novice lords of the same batch in the second generation of the imperial capital named themselves Chaos. This is why he dared to say so. As for the second generation outside the imperial capital, what kind of idiots are they? What kind of stinky outsiders? In Tang Mingquan's cognition, those outside the imperial capital are all local dogs, nothing to care about, even if Suyi's combat power is very high, but that's it. In his opinion, as long as he passes the novice period and becomes a formal lord, it is very easy to catch up with Suyi. After all, the resources and high-level soldiers he enjoys are completely different from the existence of a level. Sending a message to Suyi is already a great honor to Suyi. But now, Tang Mingquan took a deep breath and looked at the message Suyi sent to him, which was simply the opposite of the heaven. Good. Very good. Tang Mingquan closed the chat panel with a hint of gloom in his eyes. The reason why he sent a message to Su Yi was very simple, that is, he wanted to subdue Su Yi. He thought that if he revealed his identity, Su Yi would kneel down and lick him, but he didn't expect such an answer. However, Tang Mingquan also knew that getting angry now would only make him more embarrassed, and there was no use. Tang Mingquan disappeared directly in the territory. Except for returning to the territory to recruit soldiers every day, Tang Mingquan would not stay in his territory until the next day when the void invaded. It was too smelly, and I couldn't stand the smell at all. Su Yi directly said a rejection for everyone. Seeing the red dot disappear, Su Yi felt much more comfortable. It was a blessing for obsessive-compulsive disorder. But, by the way, are those guys from the imperial capital here this year? Su Yi couldn't help but think. The center of the imperial capital empire, where the strongest lords of the entire empire gathered, resources were everywhere. Compared with the imperial capital, Luotian City was like a remote village. This description may not be appropriate, but the second-rate family forces in the imperial capital are top-level forces in any place outside. This is the imperial capital. It seems that we need to accumulate more advantages in the novice period. Su Yi couldn't help but think. During the novice period, everyone was on the same starting line, without external support, relying entirely on themselves, but after the novice period, it was the time for those second generations to really exert their strength. The growth rate is unimaginable. Resources that are difficult for ordinary people to obtain are readily available in front of them, but Su Yi also knows that this is something that the high-level martial arts world cannot get rid of, and the class differentiation is far more terrifying than in the previous life. The strong will always be strong. This is the unchanging truth and law of this world. A black key appeared in Su Yi's hand. The key to the broken black iron world, only 24 hours to explore a broken black iron rank world. Do you want to try it? Su Yi couldn't help but think. In 24 hours, he would definitely not be able to explore the world completely, and Su Yi might not be able to get the resources inside. If he didn't get them, it would be a complete waste. Wait a little longer, wait until there are more population units. Su Yi couldn't help but think. It's still a population problem. At present, Su Yi's biggest problem is still population. Main world. Su Yi stretched lazily, opened his phone, and saw the message of the chat group 99+. Su Yi clicked in and took a look. Tang Lily. At all members, pay attention to Lin Fei's territorial heart has been broken. Be careful, that guy has disappeared now, everyone pay attention. A blood-colored eye-catching bold message was pinned to the top of the chat group. Is this guy going to take revenge on society? Su Yi looked at the content of the chat group. A second-generation child like Lin Fei is destined to be abandoned if he does not become a lord. His family is not stupid, and it is impossible to invest resources in a person who cannot even become a lord. Disappeared. Su Yi's expression tightened. This is not good news. It means that no one knows where Lin Fei is now and what he is going to do specifically. But it shouldn't be a big problem. Su Yi thought about it. To be precise, it has little to do with him. He is no different from a transparent person in the class, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Su Yi returned to the main world to see if there was any news in the class group, and to solve his own physiological hygiene by the way. After reading it, Su Yi disappeared in the room and returned to the territory again. In a remote residential building in Luotian City, this is an abandoned residential building. People wearing black robes are gathering here. Among them is the missing Lin Fei. Master Lin, are you really going to join our truth sect and serve the supreme great existence? The black-robed man in the lead looked at Lin Fei and said slowly. Do I still have a choice now? Lin Fei said with venom in his eyes. An impulse ruined his future. If he could choose, how could he choose to join the so-called truth sect? But you should know what it takes to join the truth sect. The black-robed man looked at Lin Fei and said in a deep voice. Of course. Lin Fei said with a calm face. Very good, then go, I'll wait for your news. The black-robed man said in a deep voice. Lin Fei nodded, took a deep breath, and walked out of the abandoned residential building. Looking at the endless darkness behind him, does he still have a choice? There is no choice, either he will be treated as a breeding tool by the family like a breeding pig, or he will be completely abandoned. From the high and mighty Master Lin to the useless person who is now despised by everyone, the huge gap is enough to make a mature person collapse, not to mention a master like Lin Fei who has been pampered since childhood. A lord's heart. Lin Fei murmured as he looked at the night sky. This is a token of allegiance, and it is also something that Lin Fei must experience to start his path of depravity. In the territory. Su Yi just returned to the territory. Lilith and Raphael came over. Is there anything wrong when I left the territory just now? Su Yi asked, thinking of Lilith and Raphael. Although it is unlikely that there will be an invasion of void creatures outside of the trial during the novice period, it is hard to say. Although the probability is very small, it is not impossible. In the past, there were cases where lords returned to the main world and were robbed by void creatures. Nothing happened, Lord. Lilith said with a smile. Where are Artemis and Elamis? Su Yi asked curiously. Them. They are patrolling. Now the territory is much larger. We have also discussed that each faction will patrol once. Now it is their turn. Lilith said in a deep voice. Su Yi nodded. By the way, Lord, the spirit stones have been dug out. Lilith thought about Su Yi and said. Su Yi took a look at the spirit stones and found that they had turned back to 19. Not bad. Su Yi looked at his territory, then opened the 3D floor plan. Looking at his territory, Su Yi touched his chin and thought. As for the wooden house, it was not necessary for his territory. What was needed was that the original sin succubus and angels could take a rest. What was not needed was that the original sin succubus and angels could rest. It didn't exist. What should I build? It's a pity that I can't go out and buy some advanced house building plans now. Su Yi looked at the 3D floor plan in front of him. Lilith, Raphael, do you need a wooden house to rest? Su Yi looked at Lilith and Raphael and asked. Lord, don't you already have a room? Lilith licked her lips and said. Lord, we can pray day and night, and we don't need a wooden house. Raphael thought about Su Yi and said. Su Yi looked at Lilith and Raphael. If he had known this, he would not have studied the wooden house drawings. He could sell them when the time came. Although they were not worth much money, it was useless to learn them by himself. As for Artemis and Elamis, they didn't need them even more. Whether it was the moon star god or the sun star god, they were floating in the sky at the moment. If it wasn't for fairness, there would be no need for the original sin succubus and the angel patrol. The moon star god and the sun star god are the best troops to monitor the territory. Basically, no one can imagine that the stars that appear in the sky and shine with moonlight and sunlight are troops. Who can think of this? That is to say, for the sake of fairness, they will rotate. Pray. Lilith looked at Raphael with a smile on her face, walked to Raphael, and whispered in his ear. What are you praying for? Are you praying for the Lord to do something unspeakable to you? Lilith said with a bad smile on her face. Raphael's pupils shrank, and with an abnormal blush on his face, he said, whatever the Lord needs us to do, we will do it. His will is our will. Really? Lilith smiled badly. Then let's go together tonight. Lilith's words made Raphael's face completely red. You. Raphael was speechless and didn't know what to say. Didn't you say that you can do whatever the Lord wants? Then what's that expression on your face? Are you unwilling? Lilith looked at Raphael with a smile on her face. Raphael was stunned and then looked at Su Yi. As long as the Lord agrees, I can do it too. Su Yi. Is there such a good thing? Su Yi looked at the blushing Raphael and Lilith. One is holy, the other is charming. This is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. If you say so, then I will go all out. Su Yi couldn't help but touch his waist. It seems that tonight is destined to be a tough battle. I don't know how many hundreds of millions of elite soldiers will be lost by then. Let's talk about this matter tonight, but since there is no need for a wooden house, I won't waste resources to build it. Su Yi said slowly, and then took out the key to the Black Iron Incomplete World. This is a key to the Black Iron Incomplete World, which can open a Black Iron level incomplete world that lasts for 24 hours. Do you think you should go now or wait until later? Su Yi looked at Lilith and Raphael and said. Lord, your will, we will follow to the end. Raphael said in a deep voice. Translation. You have the final say, if you say go, then go. Su Yi looked at Lilith. Look, Lord, what do you think? Lilith smiled and looked at Su Yi. What do I think? Tell me. Suyi looked at Lilith curiously. If Lord, you want all the resources, I suggest waiting for a while. If Lord, you just want to collect a wave, I suggest now. Lilith said slowly. Then what do you think is better? Suyi looked at Lilith. I tend to do the latter. Lilith said slowly. Why? Suyi looked at Lilith and asked, with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. In terms of benefits, after a period of time, Suyi's troops will increase. 24 hours is enough to sweep this incomplete black iron world, and the benefits will naturally be more than now. Lord, when we are able to sweep across this world, the little income of this world will be insignificant to us. At that time, this world will be dispensable to us. It is better to go now. The resources of that world are useful to us now. Maybe we can't get all the resources of this world, but it is better than becoming useless later. Lilith thought about Suyi and analyzed. Suyi was stunned, and then reacted. He entered a misunderstanding. Maybe he could take all the resources of this world later. But the biggest possibility is, as Lilith said, when he arrives in that world, the resources of this black iron world will be dispensable to him. It is better to go now. Although there is only a 24-hour time limit to go now. But the resources in it are the most suitable time for me now. Resources are the most valuable when they are used by me. If I can't use these resources, it is useless to keep them. Moreover, black iron level resources can be worth a few dollars. The black iron world can only have bronze level resources. Above this, it is basically impossible, and it is still a broken black iron world. Whether there are resources in it is uncertain. Thinking of this, Suyi looked at Lilith and Raphael. Lilith, Raphael, go and gather the troops, and notify Artemis and Elamis to come over. Suyi said, thinking about Lilith and Raphael. Lilith and Raphael went directly to gather their troops. Suyi looked at the key in his hand with a gleam in his eyes. I hope this world is not too big. A broken world should not be a big problem. Suyi said slowly, with a gleam in his eyes. Soon Lilith and Raphael gathered the original Sin Succubi and angels. Artemis and Elamis also came back. Artemis, Elamis, Lilith, Angie, Raphael. This time we are going to a broken black iron world to explore resources. We still need to leave some people to watch over the territory. Who of you is willing to stay? Suyi looked at the 4 people and asked. Let me do it. I will leave this matter to my furious succubus army, but it will be my turn next time. Angie stood up and said carelessly. Suyi looked at Artemis, Elamis, Lilith, and Raphael, and then nodded. Angie, the territory will be handed over to your original Sin Succubus army. Suyi thought of Angie and said. Angie's original Sin Succubus army currently has only 10 people, and this is still counting Angie. But for now, 10 are enough. Let's get ready. Suyi looked at Lilith, Raphael, Artemis and Elamis and said. Ding. Do you want to use the random incomplete black iron world key? Use. Suyi looked at the key in his hand. The key slowly rose into the air and finally merged into the space. A black iron-colored space-time gate appeared in Suyi's territory. The middle of the towering space-time gate was like a vortex. Opposite the vortex was a world of black iron rank. Ding! The black iron space-time gate is open. Duration, 24 hours. Let's go. Suyi thought of Lilith, Raphael, Artemis and Elamis and said. Lord, please allow me to go in first. A sword appeared in Raphael's hand, and the double-winged angel behind him was ready. Suyi nodded. Raphael led the angel army directly into the space-time gate, and it was not a legion yet. Then Lilith led the army of original Sin Succubi into the world, followed by Suyi, followed by the 2 sisters Elamis and Artemis, and the remaining Moon Star God and Sun Star God, who entered the gate of time and space. When Suyi opened his eyes again, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. An abandoned modern city, already dilapidated, with broken walls and high-rise buildings covered with moss. The system prompt sounded. Ding! This is an abandoned world. A terrible epidemic once broke out in this world. There are no normal creatures anymore. Please be careful. This world has terrible epidemics and creatures, as well as treasure chests. Ding! The Lord has entered the black iron world, and the task is generated. Ding! Find the root cause of the disease in this world. Do you want to accept the task? Task reward. Get a reward based on the score. Ding. Clean the mutant creatures x 10,000. Do you want to accept the task? Task reward. Get a bronze treasure chest. Ding. Cleanse black iron blighted creatures x 1000. Reward. Get black iron treasure chest. Ding. Cleanse black iron blighted creatures x 10,000. Reward. Get bronze treasure chest. A series of prompts sounded. Suyi rubbed his brows. Can this temporary black iron world also trigger the task system of the Supreme Will? In addition to tasks that need to be actively accepted, there are also tasks that do not require acceptance of achievement tasks, and rewards can be obtained by completing them. Find out the source of the disease. If there is no time limit, Suyi would not mind, but now there is a time limit, forget it. If you accept the task issued by the Supreme Will, there will be a penalty if you do not complete it. The penalty can only be seen after accepting the task, so Suyi does not plan to accept the active task. But an active task and an achievement task overlap. This may be worth a try, but can you really clean 10,000 black iron blighted creatures in 24 hours? Suyi had a hint of doubt in his eyes. If he had enough troops, Suyi wouldn't mind. Now, except for Angie and others who were guarding the territory, there were only 100 troops under his command who came to this world. Hunting 10,000 units within 24 hours was a bit risky, so it was better to be safe. Otherwise, who knows what kind of punishment will be given if the mission is not completed. Lord, there are creatures coming. Lilith's voice sounded. Suyi looked forward, and the black tide surged. Suyi squinted his eyes and watched the scene. Lilith, Raphael, Artemis, Elamis, get ready for battle. Suyi said in a deep voice. A black light appeared on Lilith's body, and her 6 wings spread out. Holding the Sin scythe, she appeared beside Suyi in a fighting form. The Lord's safety is left to me. Lilith's voice sounded. Raphael took a look, and the 6 wings behind him burned with red flames. The reward of the seraphim, the sword in his hand was wrapped with red flames, which could burn all sins and cleanse the dark flames of the seraphim. The light wings behind Artemis spread out, like the eternal sun, shining with dazzling light, and the eternal sword in his hand burned with the fire of the sun. The bright white moonlight appeared on Artemis' body, and the breath of destruction descended. Holding a spear, a round moon shadow intertwined in the sky. Above the sky, stars shining with moonlight and sunlight were shining, the moon star god, the sun star god. The 2 winged angels were intertwined with the power of holy light and suspended in the air. On the ground, the original Sin succubus were also ready for battle, standing in front of Suyi, guarding Suyi. Suyi looked at the black tide. Some creatures covered with black iron luster, some are humanoid and some are beast-shaped, but the common thing is that these creatures have red eyes and are covered with black iron scales or keratinous leather. Black iron plague. Suyi looked at these creatures with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Here it comes. Suyi's voice was heard. Raphael's eyes were shining with holy light. Above the 6 wings, the eternal blazing flame was burning, like a red meteor across the sky. Rebels, unforgivable. The sacred and eternal mantra sounded. Judgment. The red blazing flame fell from the sky. Endless blazing flame burned. Suyi looked at these black plagued creatures. Name. Black iron plagued creatures. Level. Black iron 1 star, black iron 9 stars. Race. Black King's follower. Skill. Infection. P.S. An indescribable existence passed by this world and unconsciously leaked a trace of breath to infect the followers. That existence seems to have some problems. Perhaps this is an opportunity. Suyi's pupils shrank. Followers. These guys are not like this because of any plague, but followers of some indescribable existence. Suyi took a deep breath, with a trace of caution in his eyes. So this active task is a complete pit. Investigating the source of the plague is no different from seeking death. Suyi looked at the task issued by the Supreme Will. Suyi looked at the ground under his feet, with a trace of vigilance in his eyes. Every indescribable existence is an existence at the top of the multiverse. Hey! Suyi closed his mouth the next moment. This kind of behavior of muttering the real name can be said to be a suicidal behavior, especially this kind of thinking and then speaking it out. It is very likely to be sensed by that existence. Unintentional will not cause any trouble, but thinking and speaking out, these are 2 completely different concepts, although it is possible that this existence really has a big problem. But he just has a problem, not dead. If he is targeted, it will be troublesome. Ding. Source power plus 1. Ding. Source power plus 1. Ding. Source power plus 1. The system's prompt sound is continuous, and you can also get source power and gold coins in battles in other worlds. But in this case, there is no way to find the treasure chest in this world. Suyi thought with a hint of disappointment in his eyes, looking at the black army of plague creatures like a tide. Or there are too few units. If there are more units, then some of them can be divided to find the treasure chest in this world and harvest resources. Now, it can only be used as a place to level up, and at most it will collect some gold coins. But if this goes on, it seems that it is not impossible to accept the task. Suyi looked at the black plague creatures in front of him that were like a tide. Ding. Do you accept? Cleanse mutant creatures x 10,000. Accept. Suyi said in a deep voice. Ding. You have accepted cleanse mutant creatures x 10,000. Task reward. Bronze treasure box. Task penalty. Randomly obtain a negative soldier buff, which lasts for 3 days. Suyi looked at the task penalty. Random negative buff, which is a relatively light punishment. I accepted this task because the conditions of this task and an achievement task are the same. Although one is a mutant creature and the other is a black iron plague creature, there is no difference. Completing one is completing two, so there is no reason not to accept it. Ding. Source power plus 1. Ding. Source power plus 1. Ding. Source power plus 1. Suyi took a deep breath and watched his source power value continue to grow. As time passed, the number of black iron plague creatures gradually decreased. After all, it is an incomplete world. Even if there are monsters, they are not infinite, but Suyi and his troops have also gained a lot. Ding. Your source power has reached 1200, do you want to upgrade? Upgrade. Ding. Your source power has reached 1400, do you want to upgrade? Upgrade. Ding. Your source power has reached 1600, do you want to upgrade? Upgrade. Suyi looked at his level. He was promoted 3 levels in a row. Except for Angie who did not come, all his troops were promoted to the level of Black Iron 8 stars. Among them, Lilith was promoted to Black Iron 9 stars. Is this the world's resources? Suyi took a deep breath and looked at his upgrade speed. It was really fast. No wonder those second generations are improving so fast. Suyi muttered. Those second generations have no shortage of these things. Not to mention the Black Iron world, they have mastered a lot of Bronze world and Silver world. And you have to know that the world Suyi came to is just a broken Black Iron world, not a complete world. If it is a complete world, Suyi may at least rely on this world to break through to Bronze. What a pity. Suyi looked at the time. 10 hours have passed. In these 10 hours, Lilith and others have been fighting hard without stopping. Although they are not tired physically, they are mentally exhausted. It's time to leave. The Supreme Will is settled. Suyi said, thinking about the Supreme Will. Ding. Counting. Ding. Killed Black Iron blighted creatures. 10,092. Ding. Congratulations. Get Black Iron Treasure Box X1, Bronze Treasure Box X2. Gold Coins X 10,092. Suyi directly took Lilith and others back to his territory. Although it was only 10 hours, it was enough. 10 hours of continuous fighting had already pushed Lilith and the others to their limit. If they continued to fight, Suyi would be heartbroken if they lost a unit due to any accident. Just return to the territory. Lilith and the others relaxed. It turned out that going to other worlds was really not something that ordinary people could do. The main reason was that there were too few soldiers, and they couldn't even rotate. Thank you for your hard work. Suyi said, thinking of Lilith, Raphael, Artemis and Alamus. Lord, don't say these things. We have improved very quickly. Although we are a little tired, we can do anything for you. Lilith said with a smile on her face, and her smile was full of fatigue that could not be concealed. Okay, let's go and rest quickly. Suyi said, thinking of Lilith and the others. Lilith and the others did not act pretentiously. They nodded and went to rest. The 10-hour battle was not only physically exhausting, but also mentally exhausting. Lilith and the others are still only black iron creatures after all, not gold, platinum, or diamond creatures. They haven't grown up yet, so it's normal for them to be tired. Although they only stayed for 10 hours, the gains were huge. The level was improved, and the gold coins were obtained. Now Suyi's gold coins have reached 14,512. Breaking through the 10,000 mark can be said to be a wave of fat. There is also a black iron treasure chest and 2 bronze treasure chests. One bronze treasure chest was obtained by accepting the task, and the black iron treasure chest and bronze treasure chest were obtained by completing the task. Lord. Angie appeared beside Suyi. Yeah. Suyi nodded, and Angie sat beside Suyi carelessly, looking at Suyi with some curiosity. Why are you looking at me? Suyi looked at Angie with some curiosity. I thought the Lord would come back after 24 hours. Angie said with a smile. Hearing Angie's words, Suyi smiled. I'm not a slave owner, there's no need to exploit you like this, you are all my treasures. Suyi's words made Angie laugh, and then he hugged Suyi directly, warming Suyi with his broad heart. Lord, we are not ignorant, we also know that we are soldiers, but it's really rare to see people like you, Lord. Angie said slowly. Suyi's eyes trembled slightly, and he also knew what Angie meant. Many lords just treat their soldiers as tools, which is basically the norm. They treat their soldiers as their slaves, which is why the loyalty of many lords, soldiers cannot be improved. In the eyes of these lords, their soldiers are their slaves. Although they are not, they are similar to slaves. However, they ignore that the soldiers themselves are also emotional. Although they are recruited, they are also living in independent individuals, and they also have their own ideas and feelings. Okay, if you are touched, sleep with me tonight, but let me go now, I am almost suffocating. Suyi pushed Angie away in a bad mood. Angie grinned and let Suyi go carelessly. Suyi rolled her eyes at Angie. Without the Lord, there would be no us. We are all very grateful to the Lord. Angie directly hugged Suyi in his arms. Suyi looked at Angie. He didn't expect that the carefree Angie had such a side. But he didn't struggle. He leaned against Angie and took out 3 treasure chests directly. Start with the black iron. Suyi looked at the 3 treasure chests in front of him. Ding! Do you want to open the black iron treasure chest? Open. Suyi looked at the black iron treasure chest in front of him with a hint of expectation in his eyes. Angie hugged Suyi and looked at the box in front of him with curiosity. Ding! Congratulations on getting the Sentry Tower Blueprint, White. Ding! Congratulations on getting the Spirit Stone, 10. Ding! Congratulations on getting Soldier Refresh Recruitment Card X1. Another Troop Recruitment Refresh Card, okay. Suyi looked at the Troop Recruitment Refresh Card in his hand, although this thing was just the worst reward for other lords. After all, what they lacked was not troop types but resources. But for Suyi, this was the best thing. What Suyi lacked was troop types. Then Suyi looked at the Sentry Tower Blueprint. Sentry Tower, White Special Blueprint, can be evolved. 100 wood, 100 stone. Suyi learned directly that the Sentry Tower, like the wall, is a defensive building belonging to the territory, and is a special building that can be evolved. Spirit stones are not bad either. High-level buildings all need spirit stones, and the upgrade of the territory in the future also needs spirit stones. Although Suyi has already found a primary spirit stone vein, this thing is never too much. Suyi rubbed Angie's chest with a smile on his face. This made Angie shy. Ding! Do you want to open the bronze treasure chest? Open. Suyi looked at the bronze treasure chest with a hint of expectation. Ding! You get the low-level wonder, Fountain of Life Blueprint. Ding! You get Spirit Stone, 100. Ding! You get the Qingfeng Sword Blueprint Green. Wonder. Suyi looked at the wonder with a hint of curiosity. Suyi knew about wonders. They were a special kind of building with incredible power. A fountain model appeared in Suyi's hand, Fountain of Life. Fountain of Life. Low-level wonder, one-time blueprint, the gushing spring water can restore physical injuries and remove low-level curses. Spirit Stone X100, Life Crystal X10, Prerequisite Building, Well X1. Restore injuries and remove low-level curses. Suyi looked at the Fountain of Life blueprint. Wonders are different from building blueprints. They are one-time and can only be used once and cannot be reused. This ability to restore physical injuries and remove curses is not bad. Suyi put it away directly. It would be great if I could open those top-level wonder blueprints, especially those wonders that bless the arms. But it's pretty good to have a low-level wonder. Qingfeng Sword. Cyan Blueprint. Weapon Design. Concast Cyan Blueprint. Requires intermediate casting proficiency to learn. Intermediate casting proficiency. Su Yi shook his head. It seems that he can only sell it for money, his own troops don't need any weapons. If it's about armor, Su Yi will think of a way, but it's probably useless, after all, he doesn't have any casting troops. Continue. Su Yi looked at the last bronze treasure chest. Ding! Do you want to open the bronze treasure chest? Open. Su Yi looked at the last bronze treasure chest with anticipation, and rubbed Angie's giant panda as usual. Ding! Congratulations on getting Troops Refresh Recruitment Card. Ding! Congratulations on getting Second Level Barracks, Savage Hunter. Ding! Congratulations on getting 100 Spirit Stones. Another Troop Recruitment Card. Not bad. Su Yi looked at the Troop Recruitment Card in his hand and put it directly into his backpack. Looking at the Second Level Barracks, Savage Hunters. Savage Hunter Barracks can recruit two types of soldiers, savages and female hunters. Among the second-level soldiers, it is also a soldier with good combat power. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Su Yi looked at the sky. It was already late at night and he was very tired. The remaining entries and barracks will be discussed after recruiting tomorrow. Angie, come on, follow me into the house. Su Yi smiled and looked at Angie. Angie stood up from the ground carelessly. Lord, do you need to call others? I'm a little tired today. You're alone, Su Yi said, thinking of Angie. Angie nodded and returned to the Lord's house with Su Yi. The next morning, Su Yi got up from the bed, and Angie had already gone out. He stretched his body. Su Yi walked out of the Lord's house and simply washed up at the well. Today's recruitment began. First, the Church of Original Sin, the Temple of Star God, and the Temple of Order. There were 30 more ordinary units of troops, and Su Yi directly handed them to Lilith, Raphael, Artemis and Alamis. Looking at the remaining two troops' recruitment refresh cards. After thinking about it, he gave one to the Temple of Order and recruited 10 more units of double-winged angels. In this way, the troops under his command reached a balanced state. Original Sin Succubus, 50, Angel, 50, Star God, 50. The only pity is that no hero units appeared after recruitment. There is still one troop refresh card left, and Su Yi is going to use it on the new God level barracks. Su Yi directly took out the Savage Hunter barracks. Lilith, Raphael, Artemis, Alamis, and Angie all came over and looked at Su Yi. Why are you looking at me? Su Yi looked at Lilith and others curiously. Lord, do you have a new partner? Lilith thought of Su Yi and asked. Su Yi nodded. Ding! Detected the second-level barracks Savage Hunter barracks, evolving. Ding! You get the God-level barracks, Valhalla. Su Yi looked at Valhalla with a hint of curiosity. Valhalla. Level 1. Faction. Order. Arms. Valkyrie. Recruitment. 2020 daily. Cost. 1 gold coin 1 time, 5W 1 time. Upgrade. 500W gold coins, God Power Crystal X1, Source Crystal X1. PS. You can recruit the God-level arm Valkyrie, the only arm evolved by miracle. Su Yi looked at the fact that the daily recruitment of the Hall of Heroes was 20 times, and after the novice welfare period, it only needed 50,000 gold coins, which was much cheaper than the 3 major arms he had obtained before. Is there a gap between the God-level barracks? Su Yi couldn't help but think. However, thinking of the gap between Lilith and others, it seemed to be true. Lilith's potential was indeed higher than other arms, and the original Sin Succubus was also the same. Try to recruit, the Void Invasion trial is about to begin. Su Yi didn't waste time, opened the 3D floor plan of the territory, looked at his territory, and then placed the Hall of Heroes a little below the Temple of Order. A huge palace rose from the ground. The Golden Palace had a bit of the architectural style of an ancient Greek temple. There were some wall carvings on the walls of the building, and some Valkyries riding Pegasus were very cool. Lord, is this the new partner? Lilith asked, looking at the Hall of Valor in front of her. Su Yi nodded. Then he walked in directly. Lilith, Raphael and others also followed in, wanting to see what the new partner was like. Ding! Do you want to consume 20 gold coins for daily recruitment? The prompt sounded. Recruit. Suyi was also a little curious about the Valkyrie. What was the difference between him and Raphael, Lilith and others? White light rose. One after another, figures riding Pegasus walked out of the white light curtain. They walked out of the light curtain in an orderly manner. The leading Valkyrie, wearing silver white armor, had a heroic look on her face, and Mo Yang, whose long black hair was tied into a high ponytail, had a spear and a longbow on the back of the Pegasus next to her. Shyvana, meet the God King. Shyvana half knelt in front of Suyi with her head down. Get up first. Suyi looked at Shyvana and said slowly. Shyvana stood up from the ground, and so did the other Valkyries. Suyi looked at Shyvana's attributes. Name, Shyvana. Source, 0-100. Level, Black Iron 1 star. Rank, God level. Faction, Order. Army, Hero, Hunting Martial God. Shyvana. Talent, Immortal Heroic Spirit. Skills, Sky-Shattering Spear, God-Destroying Arrow Rain. Companion Weapons, Star-Shattering Spear, God-Destroying Bow. Potential, Upper True God Right-Pointing Arrow Lord God. Entry Bonus. P.S. Order Camp Troop, Lord Immortal, special troop that can be infinitely reborn. Suyi's eyes lit up and looked at Shyvana. Perhaps Shyvana's strength could not compare with Lilith and others. In terms of potential, after the addition of the entry, Shyvana's potential was only at the Lord God level. The ordinary arms of the original Sin Succubus are all at the level of the main God after blessing, and the ordinary arms of other arms have also reached the level of the upper true God after blessing. So in terms of potential, the arms summoned by the Hall of Valor cannot be compared with the arms summoned by other barracks, especially in terms of strength. But they have abilities that other arms do not have. That is, if Suyi does not die, these Valkyries will not really die, they will be reborn and do not need to be recruited again. In this respect, the Valkyries are really not weak. Suyi looked at the Valkyries of other ordinary units again. After the terms are blessed, the potential has reached the level of the upper true God, which is no different from ordinary winged angels, moonstar gods, and sunstar gods. The talents are also immortal. Shyvana, this is Lilith and Angie, this is Raphael, this is Artemis and Elamis, we will all be our own people in the future. Suyi said, thinking of Shyvana. Shyvana nodded. She was a bit silent, but she was different from Elamis. Then Suyi showed a troop refresh card in his hand. Ding! Do you want to refresh the daily recruitment? Refresh. Suyi used the daily recruitment refresh card directly. The white light curtain rose again. 20 figures appeared in the hall. They were all ordinary Valkyries, and there were no heroic soldiers. Shyvana, the Valkyries will be left to you to command. Suyi said, thinking of Shyvana. Okay, Your Majesty. Shyvana nodded. Then Suyi left the Hall of Valor and came outside with others. Angie, take the partners you recruited today and Shyvana to deal with today's void invasion. Suyi said, thinking of Angie and Shyvana. Angie and Shyvana nodded. Also, call me Lord from now on. Suyi looked at Shyvana and said slowly. Okay, Your Majesty, Lord. Shyvana said seriously. Lilith, Raphael, Artemis, Elamis, don't interfere with today's void invasion. Suyi looked at Lilith and the other four and said. Got it, Lord. Lilith said with a smile, looking at the heroic Shyvana with an interested look in her eyes. In yesterday's Iron World, Angie did not bring his angry succubus core to participate, and the level was already a bit low. In addition, the newly recruited units today are all Iron 1-star existences, and so is Shyvana. Suyi is not worried about today's void invasion. After all, it is a god-level unit. As long as the unit is not higher than a large rank, it is fine. Even if it is higher than a large rank. It's not that they can't fight, but the efficiency will be much lower. Now Suyi's troops are original Sin Succubus, 50 units, Star God, 50 units, Angel, 50 units, Valkyrie, 40 units. It's getting better. The combat power is also increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. By the way, there is still a combat power package that has not been collected. Suyi couldn't help but think. Supreme Will, Lord Combat Power Package. Suyi said in a deep voice. Ding. Testing. Ding. Congratulations on being the first on the Lord Combat Power list for 24 hours, you get 100 spirit stones. 100 spirit stones. Not bad. Suyi glanced at the battle power list with a smile on his face. First place. Chaos, battle power. 1.05 million. Second place. Lord of the Abyss, battle power. 30,000. This guy's battle power increased very quickly. He increased his battle power by 20,000 in one day. Suyi looked at the second place Lord of the Abyss. This guy's army, wouldn't it be from the Chaos Camp? Why did he give him this name? Suyi muttered. In the chat channel. Blackhead of Turtle. Brothers, this is outrageous. The first place in the battle power list is not a human. 1.05 million, is this something a novice lord can do? Milky Snow Child. Brothers, look at it openly, it's not a big problem. Anyway, it doesn't matter if we can't catch up. Just watch the fun. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, this battle power, if it's in front of me, you are awesome, but if it's online, then sorry, you still need to practice. Reasonable. There is nothing wrong with what I said, but it is only 1 million. To be honest, the novice period is over. When the second generation starts to work hard, that will be the most abnormal. Turkey-flavored guoba. The two above are so jealous. Is it difficult to admit that others are strong? Fair and just. It is very difficult, especially on the internet. It is super difficult. Thanks for watching.